Fixed the camcorder, did you notice that? Okay, I'll call this meeting to order. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. The Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Monday, March 2nd business meeting of Broadwater County Commissioners. I'm kind of nursing a cold, so I apologize a little bit. I don't think it's the coronavirus, but just a nasty little cold. So, anyway.
Mr. Chairman, I have a
Okay,
statement to read.
Yes.
Commissioner Laura Obert is working in Washington, D.C. today on behalf of the Montana Association of Counties.
Okay. So present is Commissioner Delger and myself. I guess we'll open the meeting for, I guess first off, we'll say any comments today will be taken at the podium, and please state your name for the record. And we'll start with public comment. Any public comment?
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Ravendall, Broadwater County citizen. I just wanted to bring forward today, many people don't really follow acronyms very well, but this is RKBA week. And to explain to those that don't understand what RKBA is, it's the right to keep and bear arms.
Okay.
And so what I would like to do is just to reiterate something I brought up here several years ago, as well as again here just a few weeks ago at the meeting regarding Broadwater County and standing up, making sure that the citizens' right to keep and bear arms is protected. And there are many areas and communities across Montana that are making those strides to ensure the citizens that their rights will be protected. Those rights are not given by government, they are protected for the people against certainly those things. So with that said, Commissioners, I would reiterate the desire to have the Commissioners consider getting on the agenda to reconsider, if you will, a resolution here in Broadwater County standing up, making a proud statement that we protect those rights here in Broadwater County. Thank you, and any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Thank you, Tim. I guess next we'll have the approval of the February 24th minutes. You see them, Mike?
Yeah, I read them right.
Okay.
You'll have to make a motion.
Okay. I will make a motion that we approve the February 24th commission meeting minutes.
And I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any comment? Any comment? Any comment? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Let's see, how about a commissioner's update? Mike?
Let's see, I went to the solid waste working meeting, the Rocky Mountain Development Council meeting, the hospital board and the trust board meeting. Hospital board going through the final paperwork to sign over the agreement with Billings Clinic. To date, Billings Clinic has put about $2.9 million into the operation of the hospital already, a lot of new IT work. The new hospital resident doctor, it was at the meeting very shortly. She was quite busy, had quite a few patients already coming in, and they're only short one or two people, I believe, and one of those positions has been open for probably 3 years. and they are actively recruiting more personnel for the hospital. That'll probably wait until they get done with some remodel work. Other than that, that's about it.
All right, sounds good. Let's see, I had my monthly meeting with the road department and public works director. We discussed some work up at Keating Gulch. There's a spring in the middle of the road up there. And if you've been up on that road, I'm pretty sure you know where that is. So they'd like to put in some perforated pipe, hopefully, and pull that water off the road and get that road so it's a little bit more passable for everybody up there. They're planning to do some flood mitigation work on Lone Mountain and Hossville Lane. And also wanted to talk with the BOR about possibly some help with mag chloride for Filson and the Beaver Creek roads. We went up to Winston canister site to discuss some options up there, some of the challenges that they're having. It seems like they have to go up and empty that walk-in can 3 times during the week. So they're looking at some options with possibly a bigger can or something to eliminate the number of trips they have to make up there for potential savings. So I don't know, you guys talk about that, Mike, at all?
Yeah, there was some discussion about possibly having that site open another day of the week,
Okay,
so that they wouldn't have to use that.
okay,
Hopefully that's something they might be able to do.
okay, sounds good. The last week, Sean Rowland, our sanitarian, had a septic installers meeting, so came down and introduced myself, and he had a very successful meeting. Trust board, we attended the trust board working meeting, discussed some of the options out at the silos, and I had a fair board meeting. And things seem to be going real well with the fair board. Alice and Josie have been a great asset for helping that to come along a little bit better, so our fair board, they're working hard at trying to put on another good fair this year, so I hope everybody can support them. I guess that's pretty much all I have. Don't have any mail to read. I do have some claims, though. So, have claims in the amount of $49,074.97.
I'll make a motion to approve claims and set amount.
And I will second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of paying the claims in the amount of $49,074.97 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Have another claim, this is payroll claim, in the amount of $184,107.45.
I'll make a motion to pay payroll claims and set amount.
And I will second. Any discussion? Motion's been made and seconded to pay the payroll claims in the amount of $184,107.45. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? They have more claims to pay in the amount of $75,225.12.
I'll make a motion to pay claims and set amount.
The motion's been made, and I will second that motion. Motion's been made and seconded to pay the claims in the amount of $75,225.12. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion's been made any of those that are opposed? Opposed, motion passes. There's a second one here, and the same amount. Do they keep an extra copy for some reason, or they just actually just give us an extra? I'll just give it to you.
I'm guessing if it doesn't have a tape on it, that it's a copy.
Is that for our records?
I don't know the answer to that one.
Okay. Good enough.
Not far enough up the food chain for that one.
All right, any certificate of survey? I don't see anybody here. All right. I guess we're ready for our 10:15 discussion on the approve the city-county airport lease. Corey?
Well, Commissioners, I'm Corey Swanson, Broadwater County Attorney. So I received a document fairly recently, I'm not sure how long ago, but this was the first chance to get it on the agenda. It's for a lease of a hangar at the airport, and it's a city-county property, so, and airports requires both entities to approve it. I found some issues in the contract and requested that those be addressed, and then the city attorney, Peter Simon, had also sent some requests for some modifications, so we're not gonna be ready to approve this thing today.
Okay.
I have emailed, and I believe, have you spoken to Mr. Ferguson?
I have, and I asked if he could be here at this morning's meeting, and I don't see him, so
Okay.
we'll have to talk with him about those changes.
Yeah, and it's not like none of them are like big things, so
Right.
hopefully we can get these things done and be on the agenda for next week.
Okay, very good.
So I recommend we don't approve it yet, because I think there's some changes need to be made.
Okay, we'll put this on next week's agenda then. Thank you, Corey. One thing that I did want to read, it's a statement of support for the Garden Reserve. It says, "We recognize the Garden Reserve are essential to the strength of our nation and well-being of our communities. In the highest American tradition, the patriotic men and women of the Garden Reserve serve voluntarily in an honorable and vital profession. They're trained to respond to their community and their country in time of need. They deserve the support of every segment of our society. If these volunteer forces are to continue to serve our nation, increased public understanding is required for the essential role of the Garden Reserve in preserving our national security. Therefore, we join other employers in pledging that we fully recognize, honor, and comply with the Uniformed Services Employment and Reemployment Act. We will provide our managers and supervisors with the tools they need to effectively manage those employees who serve in the Garden Reserve. We appreciate the values, leadership, and unique skills service members bring to the workforce, and will encourage opportunities to employ Guardsmen, reservists, transitioning service members, and veterans. We will continue to recognize and support our communities, service members and their families in peace, in crisis, and in war." And we'll sign that letter, and I think this is probably just something that we post. All right. Okay, next on our agenda is Corey is going to talk about termination of investment agreement that we signed on Thursday
For the hospital?
for the hospital.
Okay, so I do have I have 3 copies of the document here, if anyone wants them. As you recall, we went through 2 different public meetings last year One was in, when we thought we were gonna close around October, and then one was bumped later to November. And so in the course of those meetings, the commission and the hospital district board had 2 meetings where they were approving a large number of documents that were associated with, first, the member substitution agreement for Billings Clinic to become the member of the THS, the hospital entity that was running the hospital. But then secondly, for the THS, the new THS, to then purchase the hospital building. In the course of all that, and all those documents that were approved, there was one document, there are actually 2 documents that had to be approved and updated to be contemporaneous with the closing. And then the one that's here that affected the commission is the termination of the investment agreement. The reason for that is, as you recall, we had an investment agreement where the county purchased registered warrants from the hospital district, and the total amount of money was $750,000, and it had a second option for the county to purchase another $250,000 of registered warrants. So as part of this agreement, I insisted that we terminate that agreement so that the new THS couldn't exercise that option of another $250,000. They don't need it, etc. So the document that you have before you is the termination of the investment agreement. Because of the way the transaction is done, it had to be basically effective contemporaneous with the closing, because the closing included paying off the balance of the registered warrants that was owed, and then recognition of that payment to terminate the second portion of the investment agreement. All that to say that the commission approved this document in November at a public meeting. On late Tuesday afternoon last week, I was notified that all the review was done and they wish to close Thursday afternoon at 1 p.m. Given that, we didn't have time to notice a public meeting to bring the commissioners back to basically update just the date on this termination of investment agreement. So I recommended that, given the short time frame and that there was no substantive changes to this document, I emailed all the commissioners and I recommended that Commissioner Folkford, because Commissioner Obert is out of town as the vice chair, sign the updated document dated February 27th, and then at the subsequent public meeting, I would explain in public, and would ask a vote from the commission to reaffirm that approval. So what that document is, it simply says that at the time of this closing, the THS has paid off the registered warrants. That balance as of Thursday was $396,000. So we did the document, Commissioner Folkford signed it. All the other closing documents were either already done or were signed at closing. The hospital district chairman, Hugh Van Swearingen, signed on behalf of the hospital district. He had a resolution from the hospital district authorizing him to sign documents for closing, and so it was completed Thursday afternoon. Then they initiated a wire transfer, and late Friday we received the payment of that amount of money, $396,000, to pay off the registered warrants. And then Doug Ellis is here if he needs to add any more information, but I believe today then all those registered warrants will be stamped and signed and returned to the hospital district. So that's the update. That was the reason I recommended we act quickly. This closing has been bumped 3-4 times. I didn't want this to be a reason to bump it again, particularly because there's no substantive change to this document, and it all was basically was an updated date. So that's my presentation, and I guess there's public comment, but I would recommend the commission vote to affirm that signature.
All right, good. Doug, do you have anything to add? No. You?
No, we're great, all done.
All right, good. Well,
We don't own the building anymore.
it's good to finally have that transaction completed in there. Let's see, hold on, Tim. I will make a motion to affirm the signature, and then I'll have public comment. So I'll entertain a motion to reaffirm the signature for signing that termination of investment agreement.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Public comment.
Thank you, Commissioners. Tim Ravendall, Broadwater County resident. One of the questions that I continually hear regarding the new venture taken with our hospital here with Bill Allen is the actual operation and, I guess you could say, accountability with the county residents under the taxing authority of the hospital district. Now that the warrants are paid off and that is there, many people are asking what is going to happen tomorrow with the district, with the taxing authority still on the table. We've been told that the doing away with the hospital district is not a good idea because it's really hard to get one created again. Understanding that, but if we have a taxing authority that is not really in a front page program anymore, where's that going to go? So that's a question that I hope the commission and or the hospital district can maybe elaborate on a little bit better to help explain what's going on there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
If you'd like me to respond, I'll get them to do that.
Sure.
My name is Hugh Van Swearingen. I'm chairman of the Hospital District Board. And first off, I'd like to say we're really happy to have this deal done. As you know, we tried to get a mill levy passed a couple years ago. We did several times. Didn't pass. That building is falling apart, so we're glad to have it off our hands. It needs a lot of maintenance. Now, what we're going to do with the district, we don't really know. I plan to have a public meeting probably within the next month or so. But we really want to get people together, the county, people, anybody who's involved, and talk about the future of the district, what we want to do with it or not. While we do have taxing authority, I mean, anytime we want to get taxes, we have to go to the public on it. I don't see us ever again wanting to do that, unless there's something that comes up in the future that we might want to, but I don't see it happening, not in the immediate future anyway, or long term. I'd answer any questions.
A quick follow-up, Commissioner. Thank you, Mr. Swearingen. We already have a standard locked-in fund of taxpayer dollars that goes into the district, not counting any new mill levies. So there's money already still going in there. What's going to happen with that funding?
We'll talk to the county about that, what they want to do about it. We have about somewhere around $100,000 in our account, and this last year we asked for 2.3 mills, and we did receive that. What we want to do with that, I'm not sure. Do we want to? That's a matter for the whole county to talk about and the commissioners to talk about. Do we want to keep that on the books? Do we want to help pay for ambulance storage? What do we want to do with that? I don't know what we want to do with that. But we want to get ideas on it. Maybe we could let the district go dormant pretty much. I don't know what we want to do with it. As I understand, that mill levy that we get that's totally permissive. That's up to the county. It's not required that they give us that money at all. So we'll see. Any other questions?
Oh, perfect, thank you, Hugh.
All right.
Thank you.
And I would just add that a lot of people have asked me that, and I've said, let's get the closing done. I mean, it's got bumped so many times, you know. This environmental review was another 3 months of review, and my concern was, let's not be emptying any accounts until we know this is going to happen. I know you certainly shared that, so.
All right, perfect. Let's see, next on our agenda is.
I don't think you guys voted yet.
Huh?
You didn't.
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry, thank you for reminding me. We do need to vote to reaffirm that signature. And it was seconded, so all those in favor of reaffirming the signature for the termination of investment agreements signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? And the motion passes.
When I get the fully executed one back, the whole packet, I'll get a copy to Ann of
Okay.
everything.
All right. All right, next on our agenda is Mike Conkey, DES, Emergency Management Performance Grant. Mark, I was given this, are we not using this one anymore?
Nope,
It's been signed on the back.
that's right, I'll have it.
Okay.
My name is Mike Conkey, Broadwater County Disaster Emergency Services Coordinator. Today we have a couple items. First item is the local emergency, Emergency Management Performance Grant. And that's a FEMA grant we get every year. The dollar amounts are stated on there. And that helps fund the emergency management program for the county and city together. And that's matched with local money, general fund money. Any questions on that? Time to resubmit that application to the state of Montana. I'd like to have the commissioners approve that grant application, and we have some documents to sign, a letter of financial commitment from the county matching the federal money.
Okay.
And then there's a document the commissioners have on assurances. Those are, do we comply with all the federal laws? I think there's 18 of them. One of them is like the Hatch Act. That means we can't use the money and I can't participate in political activities. And there's other things like a drug-free work environment, ADA. Every time we have an LEPC meeting, we have to have a facility that's like the Forest Service has ADA facilities. There's a whole bunch of those items there. And I gave that to the commissioners earlier this morning. Any questions from the general public?
So part of the match can be in kind, is that right?
That's correct.
That's correct, okay. So the amount of the grant is $24,723.
That's correct. The same amount it was last year. I asked for some more and told them I was going to do that, and they told all the counties, you're not getting any more. Lucky you get that much.
Okay.
The grant has not been awarded yet. Close deadline is coming up here the second week in March. We also have Homeland Security grants. We'll be back next week talking about those. Get that on the agenda.
Okay, perfect. All right,
I'll make a motion to approve the emergency management performance grant application.
okay, I will second that motion. Public comment.
Thank you, Commissioners. Tim Ravendahl, Broadwater County resident. I want to compliment our man here, Mr. Mike Conkey, on behalf of the DES operation here in Broadwater County. As you know, and citizens of Broadwater County, we were really thrown under the bus with this funding several years ago with the fact that there was misuse and lack of accountability and transparency of those funds. Mr. Conkey has been working very hard to make sure that that department is transparent and keeping on top of the requirements to allocate those funds properly. So I would, on behalf of myself as a resident taxpayer and the citizens of Broadwater County, I would like to compliment him for opening up the door to transparency here to make sure we don't end up with another felony fraud against the taxpayers of Broadwater County. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, Mike does a wonderful job. We're good.
Thank you.
Grateful to have him. Okay,
Next item is the local emergency management, or local emergency interlocal agreement. I handed this out 2 weeks ago.
we need to vote on this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the
Apologize.
motion's been made and seconded to sign the emergency management performance grant. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Okay, in 1985, the city and county went together for disaster emergency services, and they have an agreement. And Montana DES suggests we take a look at that agreement and update it. The summary of the agreement's on the blue page, and on the goldenrod page, that's the two statutes of the state law. Montana Code annotated that pertains to this document. 2 weeks ago, I handed out a copy of the, attached to that white page is the four-page agreement between the city and county. The city commissioners approved that 2 weeks ago at their city council meeting. And now it's up to the Board of County Commissioners. There's no funding involved in that. Each local governmental entity, like a county or city, has to have a disaster emergency management program. This is ours. And in Montana, all 56 counties do that, except for Cascade County. They only do the county part. City of Great Falls has its own office. Just to decide they wanted to do it that way. So there's a joint office kind of interlocal agreement. Any questions on that? Just updating the existing agreement. The county attorney and the city attorney have both been involved in this and both signed off on the agreement.
Is that this document, Mike, right here?
Yep. I'll leave that.
Is that the one?
Yep. This is the assurance, this is the
Yeah.
second one, yes. This is for the grant.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, this is the second one for the grant.
Yeah, that's for the grant. That's our assurances. We comply with all federal laws.
Okay.
I'll get those later. Then I'll have to scan those and then attach them to our grant application.
Okay, let's get that one, I guess.
Any questions on the agreement? Interlocal governmental agreement. I think the commissioners have read that. 2 weeks ago I was here and I've gone to the city council last month. Presented it to them and they approved it at their last meeting. And we here today to get signatures from the Board of County Commissioners. Any questions for me?
Any questions, Mike?
No.
No? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to accept that.
I'll make a motion to accept the interlocal agreement.
Okay, I will second that. Any public discussion?
One quick clarification, Commissioner. Mr. Conkey, the agreement between the city for the disaster services, is there a cost that's available that comes with this? I mean, it's separate from the grant that was just talked about. So if there's any figures that are available that go with this agreement.
I don't think there's any cost. Is that correct, Mike?
Nope, those are the costs. City has no money on the line. It's all, the
Thank you.
local match all comes from the county government. City doesn't put anything in.
Thank you.
Those are the costs. We do have some Homeland Security grant applications for Homeland Security grant, but that's separate.
All right, any more discussion? Corey?
Just, I like the agreement, I'm fine with it, no suggested edits. I have discovered recently in some research that we're supposed to send copies of any interlocal agreements to the Montana Secretary of State. He knows that, but I suspect that we haven't done that across the board, so I'm planning to send out a notice to everybody saying, hey, let's see all of our interlocal agreements, and same with the city, and we probably have a couple with the state, and have we provided all those to the Secretary of State? So you'll be seeing that soon.
All right, pretty, thank you. All right, I guess with that, then we'll take the vote to sign the city-county interlocal agreement. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Here's the document you're gonna sign. This is the page here. I'll get Mayor Evans to sign it.
Okay.
Just today's date's fine. And I'll have to put her signature on there as well. With that, Commissioners, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much. I'll get Mike and Colleen to sign this and get it back to you. Thank you.
Okay, we're a little bit ahead of schedule, not too bad. Next is the Robert Ketchum Associates contract of approval for Silos Master Plan. Corey?
So there's two different documents here. I'm gonna give you two originals And then here's some copies for everyone. Same two originals here. So the one document, I guess I could keep one for to talk about it, but first document is the agreement to furnish engineering services to Broadwater County for the Silos Recreation Area. So Robert Petch and Associates is the engineer that will provide the engineering services. The second document is a task order number 1. So as these are carried out, they're generally going to be carried out through task orders. If there's any changes, those will be either task orders or change orders approved by the commission. So I've reviewed this document. I did provide suggestions for a couple of changes, which they did incorporate. There was a typo at one point, and then it wasn't clear originally from the document that there's places where the engineer is considered the owner's representative, and there's places where they need to consult with somebody else that's an agent of the county that's an owner's representative. So we clarified that with some language referring to the local owner's representative. And then I requested a change on the any legal review, and they approved and incorporated that change in. So other than that, my recommendation is to approve this document, and I gave you two originals so that we can sign them both, and they can sign them both, and then we can each keep an original. And as far as the project itself, I haven't really been involved in the project, so if you guys could speak more in detail on the silos recreation area plan and engineering.
I'm sorry.
All right?
Yeah.
Okay. The engineering that you expect to have from them, but and then I haven't, obviously it'd be up to you as far as who you want to designate as the representative from the county to interact with the engineer. So I can answer any questions, or if there's a good chance I'll bounce questions back to you if they come up.
Right. Okay. Mike, anything?
No.
Okay. Well, we're excited to finally get this project going. It's been a little while coming, and I think it's going to be very beneficial to our community. So I'm excited to see it get going. I guess with that, I'll entertain a motion to sign the contract and the task order.
I'll make a motion to sign the contract and the task order for the silos
Okay. And
master.
I will second that. Any comment? Any comment? Any comment? All right. We'll take a vote. All those in favor of signing the contract and task order with Robert Petch and Associates signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion carries.
Anybody want a copy?
one thing that this contract provides is there's gonna be several opportunities for the general public to have input into this process as it goes along, so all those will be announced. Yeah, go ahead.
If I may, Commissioner, the task order that spells out the amount of funding that goes into covering the engineering with Robert Petch and Associates, is that going to be paid? Many people would like to know for sure where that funding's coming from. Is that coming from the Canyon, or the Broadwater Trust Fund, or is that coming from PILT, or what is the funding source to cover the expense of that engineering?
Okay, so part of it came from the, excuse me, the BOR, they contributed half. The Broadwater Trust Board contributed a portion, and then the Citizens Action Group, I can't remember their name. They went out and kinda did some little bit of fundraising, and they contributed a portion as well. So, that's how that was paid for.
Thank you.
Yep.
Many people just ask that question. Thank you.
Yep. And I think the important thing about that too is that it's not gonna all be paid in one lump sum, it'll be paid as their services are, have been rendered, so.
Thank you.
Do you guys wanna send those to the engineer, or do you want me to do that? It's up to you, whatever you want.
We'll keep a copy of each for ourselves and then
Well,
send
we'll
them.
send them both to them to get
Oh,
signed, and then we'll
okay.
keep one.
Or you just take them up to Corey?
Sure, just go ahead and
Okay.
send them, Corey, then that'll be
Okay.
fine.
I'll get them up to you.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is the funding for peer-to-peer support for Behavioral Health Local Advisory Council. Nick, are you here to talk about that at all?
I was just told to come sit here and listen. I don't know if I have much.
You're doing what you're told, huh?
Yeah.
Good for
Wind
you.
is not feeling well.
Okay.
Brandon's gone for the day.
First of all, does everybody know what our LAC does for our community? I mean, they provide counseling and resources for our folks that are in a mental health crisis, and it's a very, very worthwhile program. Some of the advantages is it helps to keep some of those folks from having to be incarcerated. You know, it provides an intervention for them when our sheriff gets called, and also provides opportunities for them that they may not have otherwise as far as for mental health services. They put in for a grant here the end of December. They were denied. The commission here probably a month or so ago said that we would support them, and so this is why we're bringing this before the commission to vote on. The amount that we will have to pledge support will be $19,525, and that will be taken out of PILT. Anything you'd like to add, Mike?
No, I think the only thing really is that from what we were initially told, we were told 12 to 15,000, but if you take a look at this thing, and the difference between what we were told and what we're actually paying actually amounts to about maybe 1.5 incidents. It's about $4,100 each time you go through one of these procedures. If we don't have these people in place, that's what it would cost us. So I think it's still well worth funding, even though it's more than we had anticipated. I think it's a good use of our PILT money.
Well, it is, and then, you know, if for some reason, I mean, the whole idea is that if they're having a mental health crisis, probably being incarcerated is not the place for them. They need to get the help that they need, so this program helps them find the help that they need. All right, I guess I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to fund the Behavioral Advisory Council.
Okay, motion been made and to fund the Behavioral Health Local Advisory Council in the amount of $19,525. All those in favor, been seconded. Public discussion.
Tim Ravendall, Broadwater County resident. Just real quick, Commissioners, just for clarification, the advisory council, would you give us a kind of just a summary of who's on that council? I understand one of the citizens here is a peer council coordinator who has come on board here within the last year with certifications and everything. The next question, a follow-up, or the second question, is will this funding establish an office officially here in Broadwater County, or is there already one here in the county that is available to citizens that are in need? I understand phone numbers and everything are probably established, but maybe people need to know where this is at and where it's going to be.
Yeah, good questions, Tim. Thanks for bringing that. Yes, Melinda Holm is our peer-to-peer representative here. She will be running this program. There is an office, what do they call it, Mike?
The bridge.
The bridge. Down there, is it E Street?
Yeah.
I believe it is E Street.
Behind the USDA building.
Right. So that's where the office is, and one thing that happens is they do call Melinda out, and she does go and intervene at the scene.
Yes.
And maybe you can tell a bit more about it, Nick. I mean, you've been involved with it before.
Yeah. So, I know we just used her recently. A deputy was on scene, had somebody experiencing kind of a mental health crisis. They were able to call her. She came to the scene. She was able to get a hold of the person on the phone, talk to them, and they established kind of a relationship there where the individual felt comfortable talking to her, and Melinda was able to take care of the whole situation and get this person the help she needed without the deputy then getting tied up. Because if Melinda wasn't here, the deputy probably would have to take this person possibly to St. Pete's, and then we get stuck there for probably, I've sat there for hours waiting to get released. And then now Melinda can help this person. If she experiences another problem, they can call Melinda and work things out that way. We're always there though if Melinda needs help. But it's probably the second time I know of. I know she's been used a whole lot more than that, but another case I had somebody that's same kind of problem, having some mental health crisis. I was able to call her. All I had to do was make a phone call.
Perfect.
Next thing I know, she had everything set up for the whole family.
Great.
So.
All right, thank you. Yeah, she does a wonderful job, so. All right, good. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor of funding the Behavioral Health Local Advisory Council, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Next is the Motor Vehicle Division lease agreement approval. Looks like Corey is gone, but Doug, go ahead and.
I don't know if you have a copy of this agreement.
They actually did, they sent us 3 copies
Okay.
for us to sign.
All right. Doug Ellis, Treasurer of Broadwater County. I was emailed this contract in January, end of January of this year, and I think it's just a standard contract the state would like us to sign, so they will have a affirmation that they will always have a spot for their driver's license services to come here. They come here twice a month, first and third Thursday. There is no monetary value in this contract. They come here, we do it as a service to the citizens of Broadwater County. And not sure what else you need to know. It just guarantees them a room on those 2 days each month so they can.
All right. Now generally they use this room here, don't they?
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's a great program. I mean, our folks don't have to travel to Helen, and they have the opportunity to come here and take their exams and things like that, so yeah, it's very worthwhile.
It is. We have a lot of people coming from Helena and Bozeman, Butte, Livingston, White Sulphur. So it's really an advantage to our citizens to have this done here. My department makes about, I would guess, between $10 to $20 a month on driver's license fees, so we're not doing it for anything other than a service to the citizens.
Perfect. All right, well, Corey has reviewed these contracts, he's good with them, so. Anything else, Mike?
Nope.
Okay. I will entertain a motion to sign the contract
I'll
for,
make a motion to sign the contract, Montana Vehicle Division lease agreement.
okay. Motion's been made and seconded to sign the contract for Montana Vehicle Division. Any public comment? Mr. Ravindall, you're wearing us out today.
Trying to make sure I keep myself informed and help others to be informed
Sure.
of what's going on. This may be just a little bit out of line for the driver's license side of things here in Broadwater County, but the sign is still existing here in the county that the real ID, you can pay your money here, which is not available here. Is that going to ever change with our chief here? Maybe he can answer that, what's going on with that, because we've, you know, a lot of people were asking that question as well, and it's part of your ID process.
Sure.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Doug.
I have requested several times, both by voice and by email, the state of Montana. And the only answer I've been given on that is they need a scanner in order to provide real ID. And scanners do not travel well. And that's the reason they give us that they won't do a real ID here. So it's my hope that maybe once they have a contract and they have a room that they can know is theirs, that they will allow us to do real ID. I've thought maybe this room in the back, if we could lock it up for driver services, I'm not sure what it's being used for now. If they had some place that they could keep their scanner permanently, I think that they would bring the real ID into the county.
Okay. Well, let's make that suggestion then. Yeah,
All right.
that'd be great. Perfect. Okay. Any more discussion? All right. All those in favor of signing the motor vehicle division lease signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Oh, you know what? Corey has to sign this, Ann.
Okay.
There's a signature line there for him to sign.
Okay, I'll get those up to him.
Okay, that kind of brings us to the end of the agenda. There is one thing I did want to read. You know, we've been talking about the 2020 census, and I don't know if you've noticed, there's starting to be some ads on TV about it finally, so the commission is committed to help promote that program. And I wanted to just go ahead and kind of read this. It says the census and healthcare. Having good data is the cornerstone of good decision-making in public health. Without an accurate population count, the resources, infrastructure, and care practices that Montana depends on could be at risk. The census helps determine how hundreds of billions of dollars are allocated to healthcare programs each year. Montana receives more than $1 billion in federal funds each year just for healthcare programs. Examples of the largest programs sponsored by the census data include Medicaid, Medicare Part B, Children's Health Insurance Program, Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children, Health Centers Program, Reproductive Health Programs, Family Planning Grants, and Children Block Grants, Social Services Block Grants. Your response to the 2020 census means that leaders will know where additional health facilities are needed, be able to plan for essential services and disaster preparation, and hire enough healthcare providers for the next 10 years. So, the census is important. Anything else for the good?
No.
No? Anything from anybody? Oh, Corey, you're here. There is a signature page for you on the motor vehicle
Okay, yeah.
division. You need your signature on that.
Okay.
Ross.
I'm Ross Johnson, and as we've heard on the news about the cornea virus,
Oh, yeah.
I would hope that the county is putting some real effort into addressing this, because quite frankly, I was at a meeting in Butte, and they're anticipating 425,000 from China come into our Yellowstone. And, we may think we're way out in the country, but we're not that far off the beaten path. And I would hope that the commission and our disaster planning is thinking about that. I know that just this morning they announced another death in Washington. I understand that if it gets on the surface, it's good for like 8 days if it doesn't get cleaned off with alcohol and whatever. So I think I would hope the commission would make a real strong effort to make sure that we're prepared in case it happens, because it could happen real easily.
Sure. All right. Thank you, Ross.
And the local public health is pretty much, with Doc Campbell and Teresa's on top of it, and Billings Clinic and over there is pretty well got everything. They get 3 or 4 emails every day about it, so they're pretty well keeping track of everything. Hopefully it won't get here, but.
All right. I guess that's it. With that, we're adjourned. 11:59.
10:50.
Or 10:59, I'm sorry. 10:59. Whew. Lost an hour.
Not yet.
Bring it ahead, right?
I did.
Sunday.
Next week, but matter of fact.
Sunday.
I think next Sunday we go.
Do we really?
Yeah, it goes back to daylight savings time.
Just getting used to it?